next topic, Beyond Benchmarks, Innovating Healthcare Insurance for Tomorrow. It is my privilege to welcome Mr. Naveen Joshi, Health Practice Lead at BADRI, to the stage. He will be sharing his expertise with us. Let's make him feel welcome with a round of applause.
Thank you. Am I audible in the back? Looks like okay, done. Thanks to you all for coming out here, and I have a hard cut in roughly like 18 minutes, as I'm told. So I'll be very brief with the slides, and I may skip some slides if time says so. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take it either now if time permits or outside as it says. So without much delay, let's start into the presentation. I've kept this presentation a bit high level because of the diverse background of people we have out here. However, there are some thoughtful slides in there, so we can discuss those. I start with the global outlook and then move more into the GCC market out here. I compare the two big markets out here, Saudi and Dubai, UAE. And then try to contrast between the two markets, and let's see how they go. And let's start. So, yeah. So I start with the global market. Globally, the market are trying to move up, obviously, the healthcare. And the CAGR, the CAGR, compounded annual growth rate, was about 3%, is expected to be 3%. If you see the historical numbers, they grew at about 5% in the last few years and are expected to grow 3%. Now, this is a diverse group of countries, and some of them are very low growth, even negative growth. Some of them are very high growth, and we'll see our markets, the region we are operating in, is much more higher than that. And the issues surrounding the global market, if you think of the rising healthcare expenditure, and by this I mean what people spend on healthcare rather than anything else. This is roughly about $1,400 as of 2022, I think, which was 8% higher than the year before. So people are spending more on health. Now that could be out of pocket, that could also be through insurance or through the government expenditure. Now that is roughly about 7,000 or 6,000 dirhams roughly. But if you think of the lower income groups or the countries, that is roughly around $35. So we still are looking at a very diverse range. The markets that we are here, they are better than that. They are somewhere in the top 20, 25. So a lot of growth potential here in terms of what we see. And let me see, yeah. Then the aging population. I think the GCC region in general doesn't have much of the problems of the bigger worlds, bigger countries or the other parts of the world that we have. However, this problem will compound. We expect globally the population to double, the aging population, older people by 2050. Now, in general, when I was young and when I started this career, I was thinking like, why do we even talk of an aging population? Then I realized that, about 30 to 40% of the cost from a health insurance perspective comes in the last 2 to 3 years. 30 to 40% of the overall lifespan cost in the last 3 years. Now imagine that expanding by 5 years in the next, let's say, 20 or 30 odd years. The cost becomes much more higher, and that's where the problem comes in. Now, add to that the lifestyle diseases, roughly anything on diabetes we talk about a lot in the markets around, and I've seen a lot of examples around, but nobody actually did a cost comparison. I saw a study some time back, and I did myself. The cost was roughly 2 to 3 times of an average healthy person for a diabetic or a high blood sugar kind of person. So we're talking of exponential increases in cost now. Imagine if only let's say 10% of the cost, and it increases twice. So that itself accounts for about 10% increase. So we're talking of huge population. In fact, in UAE, if you just do a Google type, you see lots and lots of numbers. I see people who are high blood sugar ranging from about 15% to, I saw a highest number I saw was around 40%. So that's a huge number for me. As a health insurance, person, I think that's a huge, huge risk and something we are underestimating as a newer technologies. I think this is two parts. One is what people have talked about in earlier presentations, that we are innovating as an industry. I personally believe we have to innovate a lot more. When I see banking in some of the countries, they are way, way ahead of where we are as an industry. But I think we can add on to those things. But the other thing is newer technology also in the medical side. We talk about insurance. We never talk about or think about the hospital side of things or the provider side of things. They also are getting newer technologies. Now, I remember there's a very simple example, we are looking at some of the analytics from our previous experience in Asia. So we saw some of the costs for a particular thing, and MRI actually, they were increasing to twice. We were surprised, why are they increasing from particular region? And then we realized that they had a new scanner in place, and the cost was very high. And when we talked to the hospital, they're simply like, we have to recover the cost somehow. Now that may seem a very naive example, like why am I giving this? But think of it, if one hospital does it, the other hospitals will try to do it, otherwise the traffic goes into that hospital. So one hospital gets a new infrastructure, everybody else does it, your cost becomes twice or thrice, just by that one simple thing in the next 2-3 years. So these are changes which compound over the years and add on to things. So that was the global side of things. Now, if I move to the local markets out here, so we see the premium for UAE, that increased by 16.5%, which is huge. The KSA market grew even higher, and there is a history to it. We'll discuss when KSA comes, I think. Historically, in the last few years, about 6% for UAE, and forecast is around 7% for UAE. However, if you see KSA, they have increased a lot. And part of it is medical inflation, if you think of it. I think for KSA, it's about 15%, on report, if I remember. And for UAE markets, about 10% medical inflation. So part of it is there. So, industry forecast says 9% or 10% for KSA in future. I believe that will be higher, given the medical inflation. But that's a story for some other time, and we'll see. Okay, so I think let's move on, and by all you guys know, we are into Menti now. So let's start one quick question. No, this is not the question. Need to change the question. Back. No. Yes, this is the one. So quick one, how much premiums are we loading at renewals? Is it enough or not enough? What do you think? Okay, we can start showing the answers. Yeah, not enough. I expected that, but I didn't expect so much favor. I think my answer coincides with the majority answer, and I'll have one more slide before I reveal the answer on the slide itself. Oh, can you just go back? Slides. Yeah. So yeah, we knew the KSA markets and UAE markets grew by large amounts. But if you see the exposure mix out here for UAE, it's actually, so we have the year on the top, 2023 on the top, and 2020 on the bottom. The tiers that I show out here, they are premium tiers. We have devised our own tiers because the market is so diverse and each one has their own definition out here. So we sort of divide the market into tiers, and let's see where the market is moving. If you see the bottom tiers, they were about 20% in 2020. It's about, right up there on the top, 32%. So 1/3 of the market is in the bottom two tiers. 1/3 of the market is in the middle tier, tier 4. And another 1/3 is roughly in that tier 2 and tier 3. So here the market is quite diverse. People want better benefits. People, they are also, there is demand for the lower side of things on the more economical plans. But in contrast, if you see the KSA side of things, almost everything is like 2/3 of the market is in the bottom 2 tiers, right? And the shift is like, they are largely maintaining their mix, roughly 70%, 69 to 72, roughly that's the range they are in, bottom 2 tiers, right? So the market is fairly very different, they are behaving. And still you're seeing a lot of growth in the KSA market, which was very surprising to me, even though they are maintaining there. Now, this important point, and this kind of answers whether we are loading enough or not. When we saw the overall claims, they are increasing by about 31%. The premiums are only increasing by 25%. So the graphs don't show the picture. I think they say picture shows 1,000 words. In this case, it is not, because the sheer volume of numbers. However, I can assure you that the claims are increasing much higher than the premiums, and they are catching up with their premiums a lot quicker. When I compare this information, the benchmark that you have, this is from our benchmark, and when I compare it to the CBUA reports, it shows a very consistent information. The 2020 was roughly 77%, and the loss ratios have been higher, right? So this is matching for the information which we get from our benchmarks. So I think it's quite interesting for me to understand what is happening around. So again, one more quick question: why can't we, increase the premiums? What is stopping us as an industry? So can we show the answers, Mirza? Mirza, can you show the answers? Okay, too much competition, cost cutting, and winning business is a priority. Yeah, I think I've been in various roles, and I can totally understand what this is all about. So winning business is a priority. If you don't have anything on the business, you can have a very profitable business, but if it's a very small chunk, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I think, but as an industry, we need to think about more on these things, what we can do to address some of these challenges. And let's see the next slide. Can you shift to the slides? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So the average premium per person for UAE is actually declining. So we're getting less per person, which we saw earlier as well, right? The premium growth is lesser than the claims. However, if you see the top tiers, they are increasing. They're the people, because the people demand some value, and value comes at a price, right? So their things are better. However, if you see the KSA's average, that is relatively constant. Now, the reason we have discussed already, so I'm not going to go there down, but slightly busy slide here, and I'm sorry for this one, the graphs. So the solid line is the UAE, and the sort of dotted or a perforated line is the KSA market. So if you see the top 2 tiers, they are increasing. KSA again is like either coming down or almost straight, and these are tiers 1 to 3, the top tiers. If you look at the bottom tiers, again, KSA is sort of stable. Even in certain cases, UAE also coming down, tier 4 specifically, which is incidentally the maximum, where the maximum market lies. So, which is why the decline is coming out. So I think nothing much more to add here, just that the premium is declining. Okay, the next one. What is the key reason for increasing burning cost? So we know the premiums are decreasing. We know the burning cost is increasing. Why? So where does it lie? Next one, please. Yeah. Okay, so we have increasing cost of services, overutilization. They are sort of neck to neck. Okay. You know, if I were to do this question back in Asia, FWA or the fraud, waste, and abuse analytics will come right on the top. So this is very contrast, right, out here. We are talking about overutilization, we are talking of medical trends, something which is like a sort of standard for medical insurance. Like, there was a guy which told me some time back, like, aren't you worried about medical trend? I said, yeah, but that's a part and parcel of business, right? So we know how to deal with that. Okay, so yeah, the cost-wise. So the overall UAE cost, if you look at overall level, it's very flat, but that's because the business is shifting to the lower tiers. So however, if you look at the top few tiers, I think 1, 2, and 5 had a very high inflation, more than 10%. The rest of the tiers had roughly 3 to 5%. That also could be because there are a lot more controls in place. People are realizing that the costs are going up. So the benefit reductions, the higher controls, more fraud analytics, maybe more rejections are coming into the picture, right? So all these things affect the cost. So tiers 4 to 6, similar story. But KSA, again, is a very, very different market altogether. There, if you know, the top 3 insurers account for about 80% of the market. I think top 4 become almost 90%, close to 90%. Top 2 rule the market, so they decide or they dictate rather how the market will go around. So I think let's not talk of that right now, but sometime in a different setting maybe. Yeah. So loss ratios, I think in general the loss ratios for KSA market are high. So we talk of the premiums remaining constant for KSA market. However, the loss ratios are even higher for higher tiers. Interestingly, when it comes to the lower tiers, some of the tiers are doing better here, but still a mixed bag. I think overall in both the KSA markets and if you see the reports which are public and the UAE market and you talk to the insurers around, I think everybody has the same story. There are pressures on the profit side. And as an industry, we are not making the amount of profits that we should be making. In fact, there was, I think 15 years back, I was talking to some friend of mine, and we were having this same conversation back then also. I think so. Things have not changed in that context. Yeah. Okay. I think one few quick questions, then we can wrap it up. I think I've been told my time is up almost. So yeah. How do we control the cost? I think as an industry, what can we do? Yep. The first one is we should educate people properly. Okay. Still a fight. Okay. I think let's just stop at that one. Okay. Yeah. So, interestingly, we had a very deep discussion with some of the market players. Some of people around I've met out here. We met in the last 2-3 months. And we were having this discussion whether we should educate people how to use their benefits properly, how to use the health insurance properly. Everybody had the same, they're saying, yes, we should do it. Do we do it? No. Okay. Yes. I think in a market which is largely outpatient driven, I think it's very difficult to control claims. That is one thing for sure everybody knows out here. I think that's a no-brainer. So if you think of the market in general, if you see this graph, so the blue one, the bottom one, royal blue kind of thing, that's a outpatient cost as a proportion of total claims. Then you have IP and then maternity and dental and other smaller benefits. So largely, if you see, OP is the main one, right? And that is something which is like, if I was back in Asia, we used to say it's like a, cash product. So you give whatever cash you have and, just get the money back in some period of time. But I think out here, I've seen much more bigger challenges. There are challenges around overutilization. And if I, again, talk of my experience back in, like, say, Malaysia, India, even Hong Kong, to a certain extent, some countries, Indonesia. So there, the systems were more advanced. So in the sense that, and this is, I'm talking of like even 10 years back. So there was a POS system, like in one of the insurance companies had introduced, point of sale system. So the person goes, taps a card, and insurance companies immediately told about the claim. Immediately, at the very instant, like in, let's say in a matter of few seconds, you will know the claim asset the insurance company. So, out here it's still approval based, which is fine, which is how our gatekeeper system works. They also had a gatekeeper in a very different setting, in a very different kind of word. But I heard there are a lot of challenges here, but I think as an industry, I think we need to move ahead and think what can be done rather than just shooting off saying, no, there are challenges. No. Let's think of out of the box ideas of how we can do. Hatim, do we have time? Can we take a few questions, 3 questions? Minty, done? Okay. So yeah, I think we can wrap up. That's my boss, so I can't. So your wish is my command. So yeah. So I think we'll wrap up out here. Unless you have somebody has burning questions, I can obviously take it up or now or outside. I know it's okay. I think that.
If anyone has a question.
Yeah, we can take the questions. Yeah, we can take questions with the people if they have. Okay, either everybody understood properly or nobody understood. Only 2 things can happen here. I think done. So, thank you.
Thank you, Naveen, for sharing such valuable insights and information during your session. Your expertise has been truly enlightening, and we greatly appreciate the effort you have put into the presentation.